Good afternoon. As you all will recall, my name is Nick Sinardi, and I am representing Davion Murphy, who was sitting at the counsel table with me in conjunction with Deborah Tomei, who is also an attorney representing Mr. Murphy, and Scotty Sinardi, who we identified as related to me but not my son, and Katie Rain, who is our investigator. And on behalf of all of us, I want to extend to you our gratitude for your service. I know it's been a difficult task. You're asked to come in, sit down, go out, come back, and everybody's questioning you. And on behalf of the five of us, I want to extend to you our thanks. The court has said this over and over, but I think it's important. I know Mr. Harmon with the state was up, I didn't time him, but I'm going to say 3 hours, giving you what he believed to be the outline of the case that allowed the state of Florida to charge these defendants with the crimes with which they're charged. Again, over and over again, what the state says or what I say is not evidence. So simply because he was up here talking that long means absolutely nothing in the form of evidence. And I would ask, you keep hearing the name Murphy, and we've identified, obviously there's a Rashad Murphy and a Davion Murphy, and I ask you all to please make sure that you keep those names separate throughout these proceedings. The court will instruct you at the close of all the evidence that you will have to make a decision based on individual facts or lack thereof as to each, and I'm concerned for Davion that the name Murphy gets maybe brought up and there may be some confusion as to which Murphy. So please keep that in your mind. So what are the facts of this case that the state outlined for 3 hours? And that is, we'll agree that on June 23rd, 2024, Charles Jones, known as Julio Foolio, was in fact shot and killed at the Home 2 Suites in Tampa, Hillsborough County, Florida. As a result of that homicide, 5 people were originally charged: Isaiah Chant, Sean Gathright, Rashad Murphy, Alicia Andrews, and Davion Murphy. That's why we're here, okay? And what was the motive for that homicide? The state alleges that it was a gang war, and it may well have been a gang war. They went through a number of individuals over the years, all the way back to, I believe, to 2018, and I'm not going to go through them all, but I believe they talked about Spaz and Bibby and Jake Jidd and Lou Hobie and Tilly and Mr. Jones himself, who was shot, that this was the background of the gang war that was going on. So that it's absolutely clear, Mr. Davion Murphy is in no way a suspect, a defendant, or anything to do with any of those homicides and the attempted homicide on Mr. Charles Jones, okay? It has nothing to do with Davion Murphy. It has to do with the alleged gang wars between some gangs. So just make sure that that's clear. Also, the state, in its opening, went into the drill rap videos. Again, they're alleging that this is part of the motive for the death of Charles Jones, that these drill rap videos were dishing or being disrespectful to each other, and that's what caused part of the wars that apparently allegedly go back to 2018. We're talking about spin events and Yunks and Ace, and these are some of the drill rap performers, and some of which, but again, so that we're clear, this is part of the motive, and nowhere in any of those videos, those drill videos, is Davion Murphy mentioned, a participant, name brought up, or anything. It has nothing to do with Davion Murphy, okay? And I believe we're going to find out from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office detectives, who are part of their gang enforcement unit, 2 or 3 of them. Each are just assigned to different particular gangs. I anticipate we're going to find out that none of them had heard of or knew anything about Davion Murphy prior to the homicide of Charles Jones. All right. We'll have to listen to the detective's testimony, and I submit to you they had no knowledge of any involvement of Davion Murphy in any gangs in the Jacksonville area up until the time of the death of Charles Jones. So what is the state's evidence? What is the state's evidence, or lack of evidence, as it applies to Davion Murphy? They showed you part of a Tesla video. That's the video from the Tesla vehicle. They allege 3 individuals are the shooters, one of which they allege is Davion Murphy. But in that video, you cannot identify anybody. The videos do show somebody doing some shooting, but we can't identify who the shooters are. Okay. So what is the evidence that the state hopes to convince you beyond the exclusion of every reasonable doubt that Davion Murphy is somehow involved in the death of Charles Jones? There's the evidence from the Airbnb. All right, what evidence is there from the Airbnb? The state brings that up. The only time that you see Davion Murphy at the Airbnb is when he's leaving. The day, it was technically still the 23rd, but in the later morning of the 23rd, that afternoon, that day, the 23rd, there is no video of who they allege Rashad Murphy as a participant in this homicide, and there is no video of Rashad Murphy at the Airbnb. So the only time that we see Davion Murphy is leaving the Airbnb, and earlier in the evening, prior to the actual homicide, we see him at the McDonald's drive-thru, the video that the state showed you on that. Recall that the vehicle that he's in is not the black Impala, but the silver Cruise. Okay. All right. The state mentions and goes through a long litany of the license plate readers, etc., that they allege that's evidence to try to convince you that Davion Murphy is somehow involved in the homicide of Charles Jones. The license plate readers, number one, obviously you can't tell who's in the vehicles, number one. Mr. Davion Murphy is not the owner of any of those vehicles, the silver Cruise. And we cannot tell, as I've indicated, who the actual occupants are of that vehicle. It's the state's speculation that it is, in fact, Davion Murphy. Now, I believe the detectives will testify that although there was a Ring camera at the Airbnb, there was no camera in the rear portion of the Airbnb. We're not sure exactly who all was in the Airbnb. We know that Rashad Murphy allegedly is not in the Airbnb because there's no photos of him coming or going from the Airbnb. And what about the state touched on the security videos that came from the Teasers club? There's zero security video of Davion Murphy at Teasers or at Truth 18. Those security videos where you see some of them walking up, and they showed you the video of Charles Jones. There's no videos showing that Davion Murphy is at either one at Teasers or at Truth 18. The state, I believe, indicates that the occupants of the black Impala, the 3 individuals at the Home 2 Suites that exit from the black Impala, and those are the individuals the state alleges are the shooters. However, obviously, in any of the videos, you cannot identify any of the shooters that exit the black Impala. Again, they had the license plate readers that alleged that Davion Murphy was, again, leaving the Airbnb, again, driving the silver Chevy Cruze, not the black Impala. At no point in time do we ever see any video or anything whatsoever that places Davion Murphy in the black Impala, which the state alleges transported the three suspects to the home 2 suites. The state also presented a lot of evidence that was recovered at Sean Gathright's residence. All the guns, the ammunition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. None of that whatsoever is in any way connected to Davion Murphy. Okay, there is no evidence from that items that were recovered from Sean Murphy's residence that connect to Davion Murphy, or that were in fact recovered from the gold SUV that Sean Gathright was operating. None of that, all those guns, ammunition, all that stuff, none of it ties back in any way, shape, or form to Davion Murphy. Okay. What about the cell phone records? I believe the state talked about that. The important thing, the bottom line, the state in their opening showed you the history, not the history, but the cell phone records of how it hit cell towers, etc. All those towers. The state cannot show you any cell phone records that show that Davion Smith was ever at the home 2 suites. Okay. There may be evidence of the other co-defendants or co-defendants that may have been present, but the phone records will show that Davion Murphy was not at the home 2 suites at the time of the homicide of Charles Jones. Okay. So let's boil it down to what is the evidence that the state alleges or is presented in the form of an opening statement that supports any accusations of a murder in the first degree, 3 counts of attempted murder, and a conspiracy to commit first degree murder. Well, we have the video at McDonald's, so he went to McDonald's. We don't dispute that. And he was driving a silver Cruze, not a black Impala. What is the other evidence that the state alleges? Phone records. I'm not concerned about the other co-defendants. I'm only concerned about Davion Murphy and his phone, although it does track from Jacksonville to Tampa, and then does go from Tampa back to Jacksonville that the state showed you. He was not at the home 2 suites at the time of the homicide of Charles Jones. Okay. What about the license plate readers that the state went into? All they show is the same thing. If you believe, and we don't know who's in that silver Cruze, we assume that it's Davion Murphy, but all that shows is that a vehicle with that tag number was going back, came from Jacksonville to Tampa, and the next day returned from Tampa to Jacksonville. And what about the videos themselves from the home 2 suites? You can't tell who's who in those videos, okay? I mean, you can see people shooting, etc., but obviously impossible to identify anyone in those videos. I believe the state showed you a quick excerpt of Mr. Davion Smith when he was being interviewed at the Jacksonville jail, where he's pretend shooting a gun, but we'll learn when that witnesses testify that Mr. Davion Murphy was drunk and was playing to the music that was being played inside the interview room at the time that occurred. And again, I'm going to reiterate that at no time do any of the detectives from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, gang detective, have any knowledge of Davion Murphy? And I keep saying Davion because I want to make sure that you all remember Davion versus Rashad, that Davion Murphy that any of those gang detectives had any knowledge of Davion Murphy prior to the homicide of Charles Jones. So what does all this mean? It means that based on very weak, I submit to you, circumstantial evidence, the state of Florida has charged Davion Murphy with count of first-degree murder of Charles Jones, 3 counts of attempted murder, and a conspiracy to commit murder. I submit to you there is no physical evidence whatsoever that connects Davion Murphy to the death of Charles Jones. There is no DNA on all the projectiles that were found there, the ones that were found at Gathright. There's none. There's no fingerprints. There's zero physical evidence that connects Davion Murphy to the death of Charles Jones. Davion Murphy's phone exonerates him because his phone is not at the Home 2 Suites at the time of the homicide. There is no direct evidence or any direct testimony that links Davion Murphy to the death of Charles Jones. The fact that he was present at the McDonald's and may have been present at the Airbnb is insufficient to make him a principal. Just mere presence is insufficient. And again, each and every one of you will have to determine the evidence as it applies individually to each of the defendants that are charged, okay? And we've all agreed before this that Davion Murphy is not obligated to do anything. Davion Murphy may determine whether he wants to testify or does not want to testify, and the judge will instruct you that you are not to consider the fact if he chooses not to testify in any way as against Mr. Murphy. It is the state's burden, not Mr. Murphy's burden, to convince you beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt that he is somehow involved in the homicide or death of Charles Jones. I submit to you that at the close of all the evidence, or a lack of evidence, or the conflict in the evidence, that you'll return a verdict as it pertains to Davion Murphy of not guilty. Thank you.